If you're okay with Ms. Boykins, can we do that first?
That's how we have it on the presentation this evening.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Boykins, you ready to roll?
Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Sort of.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
That was better.
Yes, now it's better, Monique.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. So I was saying good afternoon or good evening to everyone, and just saying tonight, thank you for attending the William Penn School District Education Committee meeting. The topics that we will be discussing tonight, we'll be discussing appointments of administrative staff, health and safety plans with regard to the revised virtual opening. We'll be going over COVID-19 data update, a facilities update, and staff and professional development, just an overview of what went on in our recent staff and professional development that we just recently had. So with further ado, I will turn the table over to Dr. B. Coates and Mr. McKay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boykins, and welcome board members and community. Tonight, we have a full agenda for you, and as Ms. Boykins said, we do have an appointment which requires a motion and a vote. So we will be conducting this meeting in essentially two parts. We will have the motion and the vote for the appointment of the administrative staff, and then we will move into our informational items. So we will cover everything and then open the floor to questions. So to start off, since this is a voting meeting, so please have our salute to the flag and Mr. Cuff do a roll call.
Let's do one first. Already have the attendance. We have that, so we can do the salute to the flag. Okay.
Thank you. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the
republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I have the roll call. Thank you.
Ms. Boykins, can you read that motion? I know it's a little different than we're used to. You're mute.
Okay. The motion is for appointment of administrative staff. Marla Spivey, Assistant Principal, Penwood Middle School, effective date to be determined. Ms. Spivey, starting salary will be $98,000 prorated with benefits according to the Act 93 agreements. The motion is to approve the appointment as indicated above.
May we have a second on that motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Congratulations, Ms. Spivey. All right, back to you, Ms. Boykins, or Mr. McKay, or someone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ha. So we're going to start off this evening with our health and safety plan update. And please write down any questions and we'll be happy to address all questions once we're finished with our presentation. And so we will take it away now with our health and safety plan update.
Hi, everybody. For our attendees, my name is Danielle Seward. I'm the Director of Student Services. And the purpose of this update today is just to remind everyone that we adopted a health and safety plan on July 27th, which we successfully submitted to the state on time. And in that plan, we discussed a hybrid model for school opening. And since then, we have made a different decision based on data that we've gathered about our area regarding COVID-19, and have made a decision to move to a virtual platform of learning for school opening until, at least until the end of the first quarter of school. Since that is the case, I went back and reviewed our health and safety plan again, and which is linked here in our presentation. And I highlighted in red different areas where we spoke specifically about students being in school, and basically notating that we have suspended that area of our tasks that are associated with students that are directly in the school because we have moved to a virtual model. So I added language that spoke to our decision to move to a virtual model, as well as additional work that we are doing around distribution of Chromebooks to students, limited amount of staff in the buildings. You have to remember this document was very specifically centered around facilities and health and safety. It did not really speak too much to academics. So I just want to make clear that the purpose of this document really was to communicate to the state how we were addressing facility needs around COVID, as well as health and safety in our community in terms of school openings. So you'll notice in this document that I added language that's in red using track changes so that our team members, team members really isn't the right word, but our colleagues, there you go, at the state will see what differences there are. And the purpose of us bringing this to you today is just to let you know that, number one, we've gone in, we've updated it. Number two, there's really no action that is required by the board. This is more so just letting you know there's been an update to the document to reflect our current model, and to let you know that we'll be informing the state of the change, so that everything is in order and everything is aligned with what we're actually doing. So that's it. So you'll notice throughout the document, a lot of things have not changed because we're still keeping schools clean. We're still moving forward with all of the work that our wonderful facilities department has done. I made some track changes. Again, want to be clear about what changes have been made in the document, and it's really hard to see on the screen, but it basically says this task has been suspended until our district returns to some form of in-person learning. So that's just a signal to the reader that, yes, we put it in there and that we will continue it when our children return into the building. But again, largely this document was about the cleaning and health and safety that we're still going to be doing whether children are in the buildings or not. And that's about it. Are there any questions?
I think we're going to take questions at the end, so I'm going to continue. Because the next portion of the presentation slide goes to COVID update. So if we could go back to the actual presentation, that would be great. And then I will direct us accordingly. As most of you know, we are continuing to meet with and work with Chester County Health Department. And so typically what happens is each week when we meet with those individuals, they provide us with updates. And so I wanted to share with the board and also with our public what those updates are. So if we could, on slide 8, we have Chester County updated guidance. And so actually in the presentation, if we could share that and then click on that actual hyperlink, I will be able to walk you through what some of the updates are. So is someone leading or guiding the presentation? Because that's not me.
Help the man out.
I'm trying. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry.
It's the third tab, Mr. McKay. 3 or 4. There you go.
All right, so if we click on the hyperlink Chester County updated guidance, and if we would go to page 2, you will see that there are items within this document that are highlighted. I do want to share with the board that this is the exact same document that has been prepared and provided previously. What the Chester County Health Department has done is highlighted certain portions to show the updates. So it's important to note that in the paragraph that begins with the health department, they're basically recommending that there's no in-person instructional model that is implemented until after October the 9th. And that's basically what we are, what our board has approved. It does indicate that this recommendation applies regardless of the current incident rate, as well as the % positivity at the start of the academic year. And I'm going to touch on the current incident rate as well as the positivity rate and explain what that is for Delaware County. One of the important things that they've been advising us on is regardless of when you return to either a hybrid or all in-person model, make sure that you're looking at the data for a consistent period of time, because they are recommending that you do not have to, if you will, go back from in-person, hybrid, etc. So that's some of the new guidance that is indicated on page 2. So if we proceed down to page 3, you will see that there is, if you will, a rubric that most districts are following in terms of identifying when you would look at potentially going to a different model. So just real briefly, the way that you read this is that basically there are 4 levels: low, moderate, high, very high, and then it provides you with the incidence rate, if you will. And the incident rates are looking at the number of cases in comparison to the population within a particular county. And then you go over 2 more columns and you'll see your positivity rate. Those are the number of people who have tested positive. And then it provides you within the last column the type of an instructional model that we will be implementing. So again, this is the rubric, if you will, that we are utilizing as we continue to make recommendations to the board. I should probably take a step back and just remind the board that at the August 17th meeting, the board did make a motion and approve that we would continue to provide updates to you regarding how we would move forward, in that we would continue with an online virtual model, and that would be implemented until, or should be implemented until the end of November. I will say this with you, there are several districts in the county that are looking to bring some segments of their populations back into the buildings based upon this rubric. And so some districts are looking at, if you will, doing a staggered return. And so we will continue to look at this data and come back to the board with further recommendations. So let's proceed forward. I think the next highlight is actually on page 8 in this document. And this speaks to actually bus riders. And so here you're seeing that they are indicating when students do come back, that all people riding a bus wear face coverings while on the school bus, staff, students, as well as the drivers. So that's on page 8. And then if you continue in this document, you will find that the next updates begin on page 12. And so here, there were lots of discussions around when face coverings or masks, if you will, or face shields would be worn when in buildings. And so it's important to note that here that students are wearing face coverings at all times while in school, even when the 6 feet of social distancing can be achieved. That is the current recommendation, and that is the thinking. And that's what we will be following in the event when students return into our buildings. However, it does also indicate that we would or should consider providing face covering breaks, if you will, throughout the day while maintaining the 6 feet distance. And that would occur for no longer than 10 minutes. So let's move on. I believe that those may be the majority of the updates. I'm sorry, we do have one more on page 19. And so on page 19, what you will find here is this is speaking to the exclusion from and return to school requirements. So you'll note that in this first column, it speaks to excluding individuals from school. And so they reference, if you will, or highlight the circumstances or the scenarios upon which that would occur. So it indicates that if one of the following, and so you'll see the Chester County Health Department has added lack of smell or taste without congestion. So if one of these symptoms are evidence, we would be in a position in which we could exclude someone from the building, or if two of the following symptoms are evident. And you'll see that they've added fever or elevated temperature into this section. So it's really important to look at the ands and the ors, because that will guide some of the direction and the way in which we would actually move forward. So this is the document that provides updated guidance. If we could go back, please. Thank you. Now, if we would click on monitoring our progress, this is the actual document that the Chester County Health Department typically provides to us on a weekly basis. And so this is where you'll see the actual incident rate. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you should see Delaware County as well. Thank you. And so you will note here that our incident rate they provide an average for over a 4-week period of time. And so right now it's at 61.93%. Realizing that week 1 is the most recent, so you'll note that we were on a decreasing trend from week 4 to week 2. However, the most current week 1, which is listed here, is at 55.42%. And so this is through August the 28th through November the 3rd. So that would be representative, if you will, of week 1. Okay, so that would be the most recent, and realize that there's a lag in terms of when the data is actually reported to us. So this is for Delaware County, and this is just the incident rate. So if you go to, I believe it's the next page, we will actually see the positivity rate. And so you'll note that for Delaware County, the most recent week, if you will, the most current week, I should say, has a positivity rate of 4.02%, which is higher than the previous week. The average is about 4.11%. So although we've seen some declines, we've seen some increases. And what the Chester County Health Department has said to us is that they will be monitoring very, very closely what happens after Labor Day, because there's some thinking that we will see another spike or another increase. Keeping in mind that right now we are still in the high transmission category, because if you will recall, the incident rate for being in high is greater than or equal to 40% and less than 80%. And the positivity rate, although it is low, we are still high as it relates to incidents. So we did want to share this information with the board. As we had indicated previously, we will continue to provide the board as well as our community with updates, because this will guide the decisions and recommendations that we make for slowly transitioning students back into our buildings. And again, I would say to the board and to our community that we will be considering potentially staggering or bringing in some of our students who would benefit from being in the building sooner. And so this data will guide all of our efforts and our recommendations going forward. So that concludes this portion, and I'm now going to turn it over to Jeff, who will give us an update on facilities. And Jeff, if you would also introduce the two gentlemen that are with us this evening, that would be helpful.
Great. Good evening. How's everyone doing this evening?
Good.
I have two gentlemen, Mike Bednar and Mike Mins, on the phone. They work with ECS, which is the company that helps us with our environmental controls and our things in our buildings. And I put them on just in case there's any questions regarding the topic that we're going to discuss this evening. Can we go to the next slide, please? So there was some discussions about ventilation in the building. So I want to do is to quickly go over that currently of our 11 buildings, 6 of our buildings have an automated unit, or have, I guess, what most people would generally consider a central air. So what we're going to do, and as we stated before in the property committee, we're going to continue with the proper cleaning of the vents, and we're going to update and more frequently change our filters. This is no different than what we presented back in about a month ago at the property committee meeting. One thing we're probably going to do is we're going to pull in our HVAC vendor on top of that to evaluate if we can upgrade some of our filters. There's been some discussion whether or not upgrading filters would help us. One concern we have is that bringing in stronger filters could possibly have the units not work as efficiently as we normally would like. So while there are other filters that they use more in the hospital grade, still, the filters we use right now are what they classify as okay, and I'll call it okay, is what they classify or for proper usage for schools in our units that we have in our buildings. Also, we have 5 buildings that have a combination of air conditioning units and some buildings that do not. So again, as we stated before, we're going to continue the same process that we had before with cleaning the filters and cleaning the vents and making sure that they're up to date. And what we're also going to do is when we encouraged this before, and this is one of the things we encouraged in our health and safety plan, was to use the open windows and open doors as much as possible to create a lot of cross ventilation and to create air movement of fresh air as well. So those are what we're looking at with ventilation. I know there's a lot of questions out there. So this is one of the things that we're looking at, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll see where this goes. Next slide. Okay. Also, this is a recap also of the other discussion we had earlier this summer. Now that we have our staff back in the building, we're still with the same routine. We're on a 2 to 3 hour rotation of events that are going to go on in the building, which check with a daily routine from the building head custodians and some of the midday custodians that come in. It'll be a combination of checking the soap, cleaning the bathrooms, wiping down high contact surfaces, and this a lot of the normal stuff that comes in their protocol, but it'll be on a rotation is what they're going to do more frequently than what they've done in the past. And they'll follow this through the day. And then what happens at an evening time, well, I call it the evening at 3 o'clock, when most of the teachers or the staff leave, that's when they'll go through and actually get into the actual classrooms and do the more detailed cleaning that we talked about before. But the one thing we're going to encourage, and the one thing that we're going to stress, just as we had done before and everyone sees it all the time, we're going to emphasize hand washing. We're going to emphasize proper wearing of your mask and keep it on all the time. And more importantly, trying to keep social distancing as best as possible, as best as we can. We can't stress that enough. And I believe that is going to be the key to everyone keeping safe and keeping away from this virus. So I think that's it. Thank you.
And so now we're going to come back to what we have done in terms of preparing for the opening of schools. And this is really more, if you will, in regard to our focus on professionally developing our staff. We knew that when we began to transition into this school year, we knew that we were going to need to provide some, I'll just say, additional or more robust professional development for our staff. in various areas given what has been going on. So on the next slide, I would just like to highlight for the board as well as for our community what has been our focus over the last about 2 weeks. So we could click on this, on that. Thank you. This just basically shows by day beginning August the 31st. So we have had 6 days of professional development that have been led by, or I should say sponsored by the district. And so some of our topic areas have been race, equity, and inclusion. We've also made sure that we provided staff training on Google Enterprise because we are going to be a Google Enterprise. We are a Google Enterprise district. That is the platform that all teachers, if you will, are utilizing to engage students. We've also provided training on social and emotional learning. And so from grades K through 8, we are utilizing Second Step as the resource or tool to support students. And we are utilizing School Connect at the high school level. We provided training in the area of special education, as well as in English language arts, as well as in mathematics. We've also had COVID-19 trauma informed care, and all aspects of our staff have been involved in this training. We've had over 500 and some odd individuals engaged in this training. And so I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that. And then this is not a one-stop shop, if you will. And so if you scroll down, we've also provided training for families. And tonight was actually our last night. We did that training at 4:30. And so in the third column, you'll see the number of participants that we had. So we started with the 149 on September the 1st. We had 75 on September the 3rd. And then you'll see the additional numbers on September the 8th and September the 9th. One of the great things about all of these trainings, specifically for families, they have been recorded. So the recordings are on our website. So individuals can go back and access these recordings and watch them. I also want to share, yesterday I had the ability to be at a school and actually we were handing out Chromebooks. Various schools are giving, if you will, cheat sheets for how to utilize Google Classroom. So not only for the students, but for our family members. So we are trying to ensure that our families have all the resources that they need so that they can be adequately prepared for this coming Monday. And so there's one other document that I do want to share with you. If you go to the next slide, I believe there should be a link there. So when I talk about this is not one-stop shopping, I don't believe that we can adequately develop individuals. If you would click on the tab at the bottom that says Wednesday PD schedule, please, September, October. Thank you. And if you would slide the bar over slightly so that we could see the whole entire month of October. Slide the bar over thank you very much. So when I talk about not one-stop shopping, I really want to make sure that we not only provide training provided training at the beginning of the school year, we're continuing to provide training throughout the year. So what you will find is that on Wednesdays, those are the days at this point that we've designated to continue this training. So you'll note that on September the 16th, we will follow up with social and emotional learning support and PD. That will be a continuation of what we've started. The fourth Wednesday of the month is school-based professional development. So schools will have the ability to develop training, if you will, that is tailored for their particular staff members. When we have a month that has 5 Wednesdays, the school-based professional development will continue for that 5th Wednesday. So when we get into October, we're now on October the 7th, we go back to race, equity, and inclusion, and this cycle will continue throughout the year. So the first Wednesday is race, equity, and inclusion. The second Wednesday will be curriculum and instruction. That will be the focus. The third Wednesday will be social and emotional learning. And then the fourth Wednesday would be school-based professional development. So this same type of model will follow throughout the entire school year. So I wanted board members to understand and see this, as well as our community, so that they would know the level of investment, and that's the way I look at this, that we are putting into or providing for our staff members. So I believe, board members, that concludes our presentation for tonight, and we are open for discussion on any of the items that have been presented. Thank you.
It doesn't look, yes, I'm here. It doesn't look like we have any, first and foremost, any questions from the board? Anyone on the board have any questions?
Yes, this is Joy. So Jeff mentioned cleaning opening up the windows. How, I want to know how we're going to keep the windows open after, let's say, mid-October into the winter times. How is that going to look?
In some instances, we'll be able to. Not obviously not all winter long. We may have to do a combination of opening the doors up, getting some air in it that way, or we may look at we may have to get some type of fans to push air around if necessary.
Okay, Joy, are you okay with the response explanation?
Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other board member have a question?
No, Ms. Boykins.
I have a comment.
Okay. Oh, yes, a comment.
Thanks
Yes.
for all the details, and I'm very, I would say, impressed with the cycle in and out of the training, the professional development. So just want to say I think that's an excellent job.
I
Thank you
ditto
very much.
what
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Dr. Bicos. I ditto what Ms. Cook-Henry said. It was fantastic to see the numbers and the quantification of that information.
Thank you all very much. I will say that it is a team effort, and all of us are working collectively together to make that happen. I will also share with you that today I provided, if you will, a wrap up for professional development for staff, and just tried to reassure folks. I know it's a lot. I think there's a level of anxiety that's out there as well on teachers' behalf, and we just try to assure them that, you know, we will get through this together. It may not be perfect on day one. This is something totally new for a lot of individuals, and you know, we're here to work with them and to support them through this process.
And I also wanted to add in that the Google cheat sheet, that was awesome. I think a lot of parents, it's very useful to a lot of parents, and even teachers have been ranting and raving about the cheat sheet. So definitely thank you for adding that in.
Great. If can that cheat sheet be added to our board packet so we can all see it?
Yes, most definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we do have, so now we're going to open the meeting up to any questions from anyone from the audience. And first question is from Rafi Cave. He says, are the fields and other outdoor spaces open to be reserved through school due process? So if I'm correct, as of our last meeting, I believe Mr. Tong had asked that question, that will we open up to outside use with our facilities.
Mr. Cuff-Shedfield.
Currently, right now, they are not open as of yet. We will keep evaluating, and once they are, we will let everyone know.
So then once they are open, we would normally go through the school due process,
Correct.
right?
Yes. At the moment now, it is, that process is not open.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Pardini has his hand up.
Okay, I didn't see that. Someone unmute him. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Pardini. We can
you
hear
hear me?
you. Yes, we can. Hello, Mr. Pardini. I could hear him.
Yeah. And he's unmuted.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome,
Yes,
thank you.
we can hear
I want to make sure my internet is a little bit funky right now. I just wanted to reach out. I'm so glad that Dr. B. Coates brought up the PD that we've been having. I wanted to reach out to you guys to try and encourage. I don't know if he needs more budget, more support, but I saw multiple many of my colleagues breaking down in tears during our professional development today. We were told by our trainers today that they would normally cover this much content over multiple days, and we had just one, well, we had one broken up over 2 days. For our social and emotional learning, the CASTLE program that we are supporting recommends a massive investment in teacher training. And we were shown a group of videos and said, you're going to play these videos and talk to the students. And until I saw just now that we're going to get more training, which I'm so thankful for, that was all the training that we knew about. And many teachers feel very unprepared to dig into this super important amount of training. So I just wanted to reach out to you guys to just try to encourage you to help us get the best PD possible. I know Dr. B. Coates is pushing for this PD, and I thank him so much for pushing for that professional development, because it's something that we as teachers, especially in this kind of a year, desperately need. And so I just had wanted to come to try and encourage that as much as possible. And I'm so glad that it was already brought up. But I wanted to add my follow-up that it's so important for us to have PD where we can feel successful and feel like we can really dig through what we need to dig through. So thank you, guys.
Thank you for that, Mr. Pardini. I definitely have been hearing some great things about professional development as well. And I'm really glad that it is very useful for our teachers and our administrators as well. So thank you also to Dr. B. Coates for pushing that as well. Are there any other questions? I don't see any questions in the chat. Jen, do you see any hands raised? Because on my phone it doesn't.
Yeah, I do not.
Okay. So if there's no more questions, we want to mention any future dates. Jen?
Third Monday meeting is Monday on Zoom. You can get that link at our website. And then the fourth Monday is the 21st. And I think that is all.
Jen, you got the dates off. The third Monday's the 21st.
It's the 21st.
Oh, sorry, 21st. Oh.
And then the 28th.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, 21st and 28th. Thanks for correcting me. I appreciate that. I do not think that Dr. B. Coates has scheduled any other meetings so far this month, but I'm still holding out. And school board directors, we begin our training tomorrow, 6:30 on Zoom. So I'm super excited about that. And I think that's it.
Okay, so thank you everybody for your time, and thank you for being a part of our meeting tonight, and thank you Dr. B. Coates and your team for setting the agenda. And I just want to say for everybody, this is something new. You see and hear a lot of parents getting frustrated through this, and just know that we are trying to put as many things in place to be effective and efficient. And we have great leadership, and just bear with us as we get through everything. And just stay encouraged. Everyone, definitely stay encouraged and stay positive in this time. So thank you very much for taking out your time today.
Right. Remember, your village is here for you.
Have a nice night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.